Hello, everyone. This is JJ Arisha with Pismo Ventures, and today I have with me Stephen Mednick. I'm going to let Steve introduce himself in a few minutes. Steve is a professor at USC, and he's also an angel investor and a former colleague at Tecos Angels as well. But before we do that, I will tell you a little bit about the program today and what we're doing. So today it's going to be about an hour. Steve is going to go through a PowerPoint presentation, and the topic is really about innovation and entrepreneurship and what it takes to be an entrepreneur and what it takes to innovate and build a business. Second, we're going to open it up for Q&A for everyone to ask questions. So if you do have questions, don't wait till the very end. Go ahead and ask them along the way, and I will moderate the discussion. So all you have to do is just in your chat box, whatever platform you're using, just go ahead and type in your questions there, and we'll answer them. If you have questions for Steve or myself and we can't answer during this broadcast, please don't hesitate to email them to pvinfo@pismoventures, and I will forward the specific questions for Steve, myself, so he can answer them. Just to kind of let everybody know that we've been doing this program for a few months right now, and the important thing about this is to really serve the entrepreneur startup ecosystem and to help the startups really navigate the vibrant community we have, and to bring on board thought leaders, investors, serial entrepreneurs, really movers and shakers in the community that really can help the startups and the entrepreneurs to understand what it takes to build a business, to grow it, and potentially sell it, because that's what everybody's looking for. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of what Pismo Ventures does, we are a unique combination of a venture firm and a venture accelerator. We also have a software development arm. So we help businesses with their business needs. Also, we invest both resources and cash into our portfolio companies. We can develop software, although we're agnostic, but if there's a software development portion, we have a team of software developers that we can bring on board to help our portfolio companies. We also help facilitate funding and open doors for our portfolio companies. We're building a fund this year. Because of the current COVID situation, it's been delayed a little bit, but this is going to happen. At the end of the day, we are a value-based hybrid cash and equity startup-friendly model. We engage on a month-to-month basis, and we are a true business partner and investor in our portfolio companies. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so right now, and to our social media as well. And that said, we're about 3 minutes into this, and hopefully more people came in and more people will come. So Steve, thank you for coming and being part of this broadcast. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
JJ, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here. So let's get this started. I wish I could see everybody's smiling face. Unfortunately, as we all know, we can't do that right now. I hope everybody is safe and doing well. So the least important part of all this, of course, is a little bit about me. I have had the good fortune of teaching at the Lloyd Grive Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, USC Marshall School of Business. My 14th anniversary is next month, so I'll be starting my 15th year at USC in August. At the Lloyd Grive Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, we educate and inspire tomorrow's entrepreneurs who will change the world. And I trust that we've got some alumni listening today. As we know in the educational community, we were the first fully integrated entrepreneurship program in the United States, started in 1971 by a group of YPO alumni who wanted to offer entrepreneurship as a sole department. In our case, it's a center. This last year, we offered 85 courses, both at the undergrad and graduate level. And we have feature over about 40 professors who focus solely on entrepreneurship. In my tenure at USC for the last 11 years, I only teach graduate students. So if you're between the age of, say, 27, 28 and mid 60s, there's a chance if you come to USC and our many graduate programs that we'll have an opportunity to meet. USC is my third career. I actually was a lawyer and a salesman prior to coming to USC. So I always assume people don't believe anything I say. In my career, I spent a lot of years in technology, healthcare, and finance. And for a number of the positions, I sometimes acted as general counsel, while at the same time growing companies. My role was never the founder of a company. I was either an organizational entrepreneur, which means I came in as number two to somebody that started the idea, and my goal was to grow the company and, of course, keep us out of legal hot water. Or I was a corporate entrepreneur, and I held a number of positions where I led major new initiatives for corporations. As JJ alluded to, I joined Tech Coast Angels in 2005. At the turn of the century, I headed corporate ventures for a $5 billion technology company up in Mountain View. Our campus has been the Google campus for a lot of years, and it was an opportunity for me to travel the world doing deals with local VCs, mergers and acquisitions, licensing deals. When I started teaching, I wanted to make sure that I was out in the community doing, and so I became a consultant with the Small Business Development Centers, and this is my 14th year working with clients. And over the last number of years, I've had a wonderful opportunity to work with hundreds of early stage and growth stage companies, as well as a number of colleagues as we wind through this process. People that don't realize that the U.S. government, through the SBA, is instrumental in working with small business. So if I'm not teaching, and I teach a lot, I am actually consulting and trying to help small business to medium-sized businesses scale the landscape and realize growth. So what we're going to do today for a few minutes is I'm going to take you back to some of the fundamentals. I'm going to pretend you are in one of my graduate classes, and you have signed up for this program, and you're expecting some of the fundamentals. Well, if this is an MBA class, executive MBA class, you're probably expecting management, you're expecting marketing, you're expecting finance, accounting, organizational behavior, and you just walked into class and you are greeted by this thing called entrepreneurship, and you are actually surprised. Why in the world do they put entrepreneurship in this program? Well, I'll give you an idea of what I face as an entrepreneur. This is a picture of physicians that come to USC seeking a medical management degree. And as you can see from an age perspective, these folks are anywhere from really their mid 30s all the way up. Some of these folks are fellows, they are ER docs, they are pediatricians, they are neurosurgeons, they're in all walks of life. Some of them actually are chief medical officers. And so they sign up for a program just like in our executive MBA program, and they get to face me. And when they find out I'm there to talk about entrepreneurship, it's as if I have a horn coming out of my head, and they're saying, why in the world, when I signed up for this program, am I getting you entrepreneurship? Well, one of the things I lead with is what businesses were not started by entrepreneurs. And I asked them to think about the institutions they're in and who their founders were, and understand that regardless of the business, whether it's the public or private sector, It's all about using entrepreneurial tools. And I'm going to take them back to the beginning and ask them to really take a hard look at how businesses are started, how businesses grow, and how they in their current jobs can in fact make a difference. So they're wondering, why is entrepreneurship in this program? And I start with a little story. I indicate to them the fact that they've gone back to school, they've already separated themselves from the others, and the fact that you are here today spending some time with us, you have separated yourselves from the masses of others. You've decided that you want to do something bigger, better, or you're working on a current venture and that you want to be ready for that moment. And I want you to be ready for that moment. And when I think about being prepared for that moment, I think about when I was an undergrad at UCLA, I had a classmate, let's call him Jerry, because his name was Jerry. Jerry wanted to be an actor, and Jerry was taking the appropriate classes at UCLA in acting, and we were concerned about Jerry. Though he was getting through school, he really wasn't doing what he should be doing. He wasn't really practicing his trade. He was ignoring the fundamentals. He expected things to come to him as opposed to Jerry going out and really grappling with the fundamentals of being an actor, whether on stage or on film. But as the story goes with Jerry, it was a few years after we had graduated, and he told me the story that he got a call from his agent who said, Jerry, I got great news for you. I got you a part finally in an off-Broadway production in New York, but you got to get to New York right away. And Jerry, living in Manhattan Beach, was absolutely thrilled with this. And so Jerry started packing, and he asked his agent, well, tell me about this role. What do I need to do? Jerry thought he was ready. Question is, was Jerry ready for this part? And the way that his agent laid it out to him, he said, Jerry, when you go out on stage, there's going to be a cannon. And when that cannon goes off, you're to say, hark, is that a cannon I hear? Jerry said, is that it? Yes, that's it. Hark, is that a cannon I hear? I know it's not your big role, but listen, it's a part in an off-Broadway show in New York. You just may get seen. So as you can imagine, Jerry wants to be ready now for that big part. And so he's packing, he's headed down to LAX, and he's on the plane flying to JFK. And throughout his flight, he is practicing. Hark, is that a cannon I hear? Hark, is that a cannon I hear? He lands at JFK, tells the cab driver, you know what, I'm on in a couple of hours. Get me to the Bijou Theater. And all the way to the theater, hark, is that a cannon I hear? Traffic is terrible. Jerry's getting worried. Hark, is that a cannon I hear? They drive up to the Bijou Theater. He looks for the door that says actors only. He is so excited. Knocks on the door. He's never been through that door before. They open up the door. They know who he is. They say, Jerry, you're on in 20 minutes. We got to get you into makeup and a wardrobe. He's practicing over and over and over again. Hark, is that a cannon I hear? His big moment is coming. They come in. They say, Jerry, you're on. You're on. He walks on stage. There's a loud boom, and he says, what the hell was that? Is that you? I can tell you that was me once or twice. An opportunity was right in front of me. I wasn't prepared for that moment. I was delusional. I hadn't done what I needed to do to capture that moment. And neither had Jerry. He thought he had, but he hadn't. So by you coming back to school, what I'm hoping is you'll add some tools to your tool set and you'll be ready for that moment. Whether you're an existing business today or you want to start a new business tomorrow. So why entrepreneurship? Why is this so important? Well, as we all know, we have optimized the heck out of everything. It's now about innovation. Innovation, not only of product, of service, innovation of distribution channels, revenue models. Innovation can come in a lot of different ways. It's right in front of us. Are you ready for it? Why entrepreneurship? Are you one of these people? You know what? I get them all the time, both at school, and I teach about 400 graduate students a year. And I meet with over 100 entrepreneurs a year through the Small Business Development Center. They have these great ideas. And they come to me and they say, hey, I got this great idea. You want to hear it? I got this great idea. You want to hear it? They don't know what to do with these ideas. What's an idea? Is it important? You know what we call these people? We call them popcorn heads. Constantly have ideas. They move from idea to idea, and they don't understand how to take an idea and move it forward. They're not ready. What the truth is, ideas can become very scary when you don't know what to do with it.
Ideas are scary. They come into this world ugly and messy. Ideas are frightening because they threaten what is known. They are the natural-born enemy of the way things are. Yes, ideas are scary and messy and fragile. But under the proper care, they become something beautiful.
And we're going to put it under the proper care so an idea becomes something beautiful. But an idea is just the beginning. It's not enough. And this is what stops many people. They don't know how to move forward. So whether you want to be or are an entrepreneur, or you want to be a catalyst within an organization and to do something new and distinct from the organization's current models and become a corporate entrepreneur, we have to move off of an idea and understand how to move a new business opportunity forward. So we start with ideas and eventually develop an initial business model, a first customer, and then growth. But something is missing. What piece is missing? And in fact, it's an innovation. But what's an innovation? An innovation, I argue, has two parts. First, it's something new or different, not necessarily a new product or service. But when you look at Uber, how they innovated on the revenue model and the ability to get to customers and make it easy, there was an innovation there. And we think of companies that turn things on their head by getting to the customer where the customer is in a more efficient way and making it easier to buy. But having something that is new and different is not enough. It must create customer value. If we don't create customer value, we don't have anything. And so it's new and different. We start with an idea and we start thinking about what's the innovation behind this? What's new and different from the customer's perspective? And what is the value that we're creating? And in fact, the great Peter Drucker said, innovation is the specific instrument of entrepreneurship, the act that endows resources with a new capacity to create wealth. It is entrepreneurship that grows the country, that grows wealth around the world. Why entrepreneurship? Because we're here to explore how you can turn ideas into innovations that then create customer value. It's all about customers. Why entrepreneurship? Because quite frankly, when I meet a class of folks and I think about you guys, I got to get you ready. Not necessarily for outer space, but if you look at getting additional education, putting yourself out there, according to Professor Scott Shane, it increases your likelihood that you will start your own business. I got to get you ready for that moment. I got to get you ready when that cannon goes off so that you say, hark, is that a cannon I hear? And not, what the heck was that? So when looking at a large group, and especially those that come into USC in a lockstep program, and what I mean by that is you stay put and we faculty members rotate, I realize that you have different paths in life. And I realize I am not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I'm not going to turn anybody into an entrepreneur that does not want to be an entrepreneur. Quite frankly, I don't care if your corner of heaven is starting a business or being in an organization in the government sector or the private sector. I don't care if you want to be a social entrepreneur. What I care about is that you have a goal. You want to do something new and different and create value. The tools that are used by entrepreneurs that go back from the very beginning are the same. And in fact, everything that we talk about in entrepreneurship is consistent with what my colleagues talk about in the other disciplines. But we as entrepreneurs come at it a little bit differently. So now I think you're probably feeling really excited. This is going to be fun. I want to see what I can do. Do you feel lucky?
Everybody know who that is? Pretty Harry. That's a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world. And what did he say to the bad guy? Do you feel lucky? So, how many of you want to start a business? Own your own business in here? Do you feel lucky? Now, I'm going to tell you, that person up there holding that 44 Magnum, look, in this environment of small business, is who? What does he look like today? Someone starting a small business. Who's holding the 44 Magnum to your head? The VCs. Who else? Okay, customers. Let's write this down. So I got VCs, I got customers. Who else? Competitors. Who else? Banks. Wife. Laugh. This is how many of you are married? How many are married? Okay, spouses, so you have a wife or a husband. I'm going to talk for a few seconds about the spouse issue. It's huge. Who else? What else? Who else is holding a 44 Magnum to your head? Competitors. Okay. Oh, creditors. Yeah, vendors. Okay. Creditors. Okay. Yeah, IRS. Okay, who else? Anybody else? Customers. We got customers, VCs, banks, partners, employees, the trends, economic issues, fads.
Well, the truth is, everybody works against us. We're going against the grain. And we have to be able to navigate through this entrepreneurial terrain. Even as a corporate entrepreneur, as we know, there are people in the organization that will work against us. This is not what we do. This is not who we are. Why are you trying to upset things? We need to understand this, appreciate it, and be very empathetic to those around us and to do our homework. So for us to move forward, even, whether it's a corporate sense or on our own, we start with a foundation. So let's start with a couple fundamentals of a foundation. Imagine that you are the #1 high school recruit for basketball. For some of us, that's, of course, an impossibility, but let's pretend that you are the #1 recruit in the United States. You've been able to slam dunk since you were 3 years old. Everybody wants you. Your dream, of course, is to go into the NBA, but you first are going to go into college, and you can go anywhere you want to go. Where do you go? Well, you play for Coach Wooden. And Coach Wooden was at UCLA when I was there many, many years ago. And today is your first day of practice. And I know there's a couple of you out there that know the answer to this. So hotshot, what's Coach Wooden going to have you do that first day of practice? And when I ask this in class, people will say shoot, dribble, and whatever. but that's not true. Coach Wooden understood how to establish a foundation. And so Coach Wooden, on your first day of practice, hotshot, showed you how to put on your socks and tie your shoes. So we're going to do the same thing, because I know there are a lot of hotshots out there. Hotshot entrepreneurs who've done it before, corporate entrepreneurs who've done it. But we're going to go back to fundamentals and not forget what got us here. So first, let's put on our socks. And I always ask people, from a business perspective, how do you view the world? How do you view the world relative to your business? I challenge all of you to look at the world through the eyes of your customers back into your business. Deep customer insight. Understand human behavior. Steve Jobs actually was a master of this. Steve Jobs, like a few others, actually knew what we wanted before we even knew what we wanted. Understand how the customer views your product, how they use your product, other enabling products. Understand it from a design, from a complete perspective. So in class, I challenge students always to describe their business from their customer's perspective, not through your perspective. Not that customers are always right, but to understand why customers buy, how they buy, what their choices are, and of course, will they buy from you? So let's tie our shoes. What's a business model? So I was a corporate VC at the turn of the century. And as you know, at that time, there are a lot of, quote, deals that were done based on napkin designs. I never allowed our company to do that. I kept asking some fundamental questions about what people wanted to build or where they were in the process. We always need to understand what a model is to move forward. A business model does three things. It creates, delivers, and captures value. Remember, in innovation, something new and different, we need to create something new. We have to be able to get to the customer and capture value. An entrepreneur creates a new business entity. Within an organization, we create a new entity that we can present to the CFO and CEO that has complete financial analysis. We've got to create, deliver, and capture value. If we miss on this part, we do not have a new business. So then what's the goal of a startup? You read a lot of the books. The goal of a startup, it's a series of experiments. At USC, we teach to a concept statement, to a hypothesis. What we're trying to do is come up with our initial business model. That's what a startup is. Once we establish our initial model, then we execute. Now we have an existing business. First, we establish, we go from a hypothesis of what we think, eventually to what we know. And what we know is when a customer pays us. And now we have an existing business. But wait, that will work initially to get you into the market, but you have to move forward. You got to constantly move. And this is scary. Let's look at an example from a clip at Saving Private Ryan. What's the rallying point? Anywhere but here, a metaphor for entrepreneurship. When you think what it took to get our troops onto the beaches at Normandy, it's just like an entrepreneur. understanding what resources they have, their knowledge base, their training, their networks. For our soldiers, the story is well told. These soldiers had a significant amount of resource to get them on the beach. And of course, there's a feeling of relief once we get our first customer and we get on the beach. Of course, entrepreneurship is not life and death. I don't mean to imply that. But the real hard part then is moving out from the beach, in their case, to a wall that was a few hundred yards up so they can start moving forward. As a new venture, it's the same thing. It's not to be stuck on the beach. It's to constantly use the tools that got you there, that got you onto the beach. Develop new tools, new learning now that you're there to help you move forward. It's never easy. And as our guest Tom Markle showed in his video, people are working against you at all times. And so as I worked with entrepreneurs over the years, I came up with 10 rules to live by. I oftentimes think about the time I was in the backyard with my dad, and those were the days that it was legal to have a furnace. And I'll never forget, I wanted to touch the top of the furnace. And my dad said, don't do that, it's hot. And of course, what do? I touched the top of the furnace and never forgot it. And as I work with entrepreneurs, and I work with them today, whether they're students or they're professionals, I oftentimes talk about these rules, but indicate to them the best way of learning, of course, is to go ahead and do it. But for the sake of today, let's just kind of fly through these 10 rules and sort of then set up the entrepreneurial mindset as to how you approach a business opportunity. First, number 10. And by the way, these rules are not necessarily in order of priority. Timing is everything. You can do everything incredibly well. If your timing is off, you may miss out. A few years ago, I used to ask my class, how many of you listen to Pandora? And a lot of hands would go up. How many of you pay for Pandora? Many hands went down. How long has Pandora been in business? People would say 3 years, 4 years. And at that point, they've been in business for 15 years. How important is timing? Let's look at a clip, and I'm going to cut it off for the sake of time, of Bill Gross when he spoke at the TED conference about timing.
I'm really excited to share with you some findings that really surprised me about what makes companies succeed the most. What factors actually matter the most for startup success? I believe that the startup organization is one of the greatest forms to make the world a better place. If you take a group of people with the right equity incentives and organize them in a startup, you can unlock human potential in a way never before possible. You get them to achieve unbelievable things. But if the startup organization is so great, why do so many fail? That's what I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out what actually matters most for startup success. And I wanted to try to be systematic about it, avoid some of my instincts and maybe misperceptions I have from so many companies I've seen over the years. I wanted to know this because I've been starting businesses since I was 12 years old, when I sold candy at the bus stop in junior high school, to high school when I made solar energy devices, to college when I made loudspeakers. When I graduated from college, I started software companies. And 20 years ago, I started Idea Lab. And in the last 20 years, we started more than 100 companies, many successes and many big failures. We learned a lot from those failures. So I tried to look across what factors accounted the most for company success and failure. So I looked at these 5. First, the idea. I used to think that the idea was everything. And I named my company Idea Lab and how much I worship the aha moment when you first come up with the idea. But then over time, I came to think that maybe the team, the execution, adaptability, that mattered even more than the idea. I never thought I'd be quoting boxer Mike Tyson on the TED stage, but he once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I think that's so true about business as well. So much about a team's execution is its ability to adapt to getting punched in the face by the customer. The customer is the true reality. that's why I came to think that the team maybe was the most important thing. Then I started looking at the business model. Does the company have a very clear path generating customer revenues? That started rising to the top in my thinking about maybe what mattered most for success. Then I looked at the funding. Sometimes companies received intense amount of funding. Maybe that's the most important thing. And then of course the timing. Is the idea way too early and the world's not ready for it? Is it early, meaning you're in advance and you have to educate the world? Is it just right, or is it too late and there's already too many competitors? So I tried to look very carefully at these 5 factors across many companies. And I looked across all 100 Idea Lab companies and 100 non-Idea Lab companies to try and come up with something scientific about it. So first, on these Idea Lab companies, the top 5 companies, CitySearch, Cars Direct, GoTo, NetZero, Tickets.com, those all became billion-dollar successes. And the 5 companies on the bottom, Z.com, Insider Pages, My Life, Desktop Factory, PeopleLink, we all had high hopes for, but didn't succeed. So I tried to rank across all of those attributes how I felt those companies scored on each of those dimensions. And then for non-Idea Lab companies, I looked at wild successes like Airbnb and Instagram, and Uber and YouTube and LinkedIn, and some failures, Webvan, Cosmo, Pets.com, Flues, and Friendster. The bottom companies had intense funding. They even had business models in some cases, but they didn't succeed. I tried to look at what factors actually counted the most for success and failure across all these companies, and the results really surprised me. The number one thing was timing. Timing accounted for 42% of the difference between success and failure. Team and execution came in second, and the idea, the differentiability of the idea, the unique idea, that actually came in third. Now, this isn't absolutely definitive. It's not to say that the idea isn't important, but it very much surprised me that the idea wasn't the most important thing. Sometimes it mattered more when it was actually timed. The last 2, business model and funding, made sense to me, actually. I think business model makes sense to be that low because you can start out without a business model and then add one later if your customers are demanding what you're creating.
And we certainly could have a long conversation about timing. Without timing, you know what? You may have a great idea that you've developed into an innovation and a model, but the markets either are not ready for it or you're too late. Another important fundamental in thinking about starting a business is just asking the obvious question. There's a wonderful entrepreneur that has come to my class a number of times who's now had 2 home runs. And what he does is he's a social learner. He gets out and he watches people. He asks questions. And what he's found is oftentimes the opportunity is right in front of us by asking the obvious question. I think people spend too much time trying to come up with something that is too intricate. It's oftentimes right in front of us. It's a tweak. Most entrepreneurs do not invent new things. They improve upon things. They make it easier for the customer to buy. And so if you want to do something new, and I used to do this all the time in a corporate sense, is I'd meet with customers and I start asking obvious questions. Why do you do this? How do you use this? What would you like to do better? What prevents you from doing more business with your customers? How can we help you? And so in understanding some of the fundamentals is timing is important, and understanding, can we deliver a complete solution? But asking the obvious question. Number 8, we have students that come to us, and I work with entrepreneurs that have been very successful in the past. And believe it or not, your prior success does not in any way guarantee you for future success. In an entrepreneurial venture, everyone starts anew. You may have been very successful in the past. It doesn't mean that you'll be successful in the future. Markets changes, industry players change, distribution channels change. Are you ready for the new opportunity? Have you gone back to the fundamentals to do the work and to ask the right questions? Get over your success, start anew, start fresh, be eager, be enthusiastic. Number 7. Now, we can't do it alone, and I think we all know that. When I started my career, it was us versus the world. In today's world of entrepreneurship, we create a virtual company. We create people that help us deliver a complete solution to the customer. Our ability to develop alliances, partnerships, and I don't mean it in a legal sense, but our ability to create a complete solution for a customer is very, very important. Understand what your core capabilities are, your competencies, and your ability to deliver, and bring in others to fill the gaps. Number six, embrace failure. For those of you that are entrepreneurs, know this very well. We learn more by failure than we do success. So the entrepreneur that I just referred to that has had multiple successes and says, ask the obvious question. He used to say he placed little bets, financial bets, in trying things out. Let's see what works. Let's see what fails. It's those things that fail that we ask the deeper questions of why. And that's where we learn. Test things, stress things, understand where we're not going to be successful so we can move to success. I see this in class with my students where I have them do assignments on their own projects. They come into class and they're turning in an assignment and they've hit a dead end. And I never forget when students say, I think I'm in trouble. And I ask, what do you mean? Well, you asked us to go out and test customer markets. I did. I found out I'm in the wrong place. And they're worried about their grade. And I said, what did you find out? Well, I found out that I need to be testing these other segments. And in fact, I started to, and I'm getting positive feedback. And in fact, I had a customer that said they'll buy from me. And I said, what's the problem? I haven't completed my analysis yet. Well, I indicate to them that in real life, that's fabulous. They're at the beginning stage of pivoting their customer markets to get them where they need to go. In a class situation, we have an artificial time or calendar. Don't worry about it. What did you learn from it? And how will you react when you face failure in the future? And how do you move forward from it? Number five, uncertainty ahead. And we all know this. As an entrepreneur, the days, each day is met with new things. As a corporate entrepreneur, we're out of the mainstream. We're looking for new things that we can't see. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time knowing that we're headed somewhere. We can't wait till we get there. So if you like a career, a job, a path that you know what you're going to do today, tomorrow, next week, and next month, this is not the right gig for you. This is Mr. Toad's wild ride. People are working against you. Timing may be good, it may be bad. This is one that allows people to get into the fast lane and hopefully achieve something they never thought possible. Number four, knowledge is power. Tell me what you know, not what you think. If I were to ask you about the current business that you have today, I'd like to think you would describe your business from the eyes of your customer, remember? And you would say, let me tell you who my customers are. Let me tell you how we reach them and what value we deliver to them. When you start a business opportunity and you're at the hypothesis stage, you don't know yet. It's what you think. And now you start testing and testing and testing and moving till you get to first customer, and now you know. And so what I say to people in class as well as to my clients, I've got to move you from what you think to what you know. What you know is very powerful. Number three, there are no bad ideas, just poor execution. And Bill Gross talked about this. It's the ability to execute in the marketplace. Yes, timing needs to be good. You need to have the right resources and whatnot, but you still have to have the ability to execute. Number two, entrepreneurs live by the 11th commandment. Do not BS thyself. Understand what your capabilities are, either on your own or in a corporate setting. Do not try to embrace things that you don't have. Exploit what you do have and move forward. Number one. Yeah, this isn't a math class. E equals FE. The truth is, in an entrepreneurial setting, take responsibility for moving things forward. I know there are externalities that you can't control. Take control of things and no excuses. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a world where I launched some businesses with some folks. We did not have access to outside capital. We used customer money to fund our business. Sometimes it wasn't much. I never spent time worrying about things I couldn't get. I knew that our success was a function of us and our ability to move things forward. And I always did it with a customer. Oh, there's one more. And that is, entrepreneurs live by cash flow. Manage the cash. You're going to encounter many more rules during your life journey. The key is not to continue to make the same mistakes. It's all about fundamentals. So one final piece for just a couple of minutes, and then we're going to open it up to any questions you may have. Teaching at USC has been a marvelous experience over the years, and we have a health science campus. And we in Entrepreneurship a number of years ago reached out to the health science campus, and we asked them to look at the mind of an entrepreneur that had passed away to see if there's a way to determine if an entrepreneur thinks, no, we didn't do that. But the truth is, do entrepreneurs think differently, as well as corporate entrepreneurs? And the truth is, the answer is yes. And this actually was a study that was done by a professor at the University of Virginia. It's a marvelous study about effectual thinking. And what she wanted to find out is, do entrepreneurs really think differently than managers? Well, managers typically think in a causal way. And that is, we have a given goal, and given means to achieve a given goal. And there are times when that's important. If I need to get my gallbladder out, I want my doctor taking out my gallbladder. I want him to use the means that he has and to get it done. I don't want him doing exploratory surgery once he's inside of me to figure out what else is in there. So there's a time for causal thinking. And then people start thinking about, what about beyond causal thinking? What about creative thinking? What if something comes up? We still have a given goal, but maybe we need to create some new means. Maybe the doctor needs to bring in other physicians, other tools, other procedures that are within his or her means. Still has the given goal, and that's strategic thinking. But that's not how entrepreneurs think. Entrepreneurs think in an effectual way. And that is, they imagine new ends based on the given means. So we looked at Saving Private Ryan, and you think about what got those soldiers onto the beach is they established given means of networks and training and whether financial resources they had and anything else. And they imagined really a new end of obviously achieving the domination of Europe, reestablishing Europe. But the truth is, they said, we have a given goal of getting onto the beach, but we have to imagine new ends of moving forward. We'll determine what that is once we get there. At USC, we actually think a little bit differently, and I've done this in class, where what I say to students is, let's start with a blank slate. Let's start with the money that we have in our pocket. Let's start creating new means and imagine new ends by going out and testing the market. Let's ask some obvious questions and ask ourselves, can we start a new business based on what we've learned? I've actually done this in class and had a group of students launch a business, and within really 4 weeks, realize over 40% margins in a new business. Get them excited that they can do this. True entrepreneurs go out and start asking questions. They look for opportunities. They start thinking in terms of, is there an innovation here? Who is our customer? Is there a way to reach a customer? Why would a customer buy from us? And what's the value? Can I garner new means in order to achieve the new ends? And so what entrepreneurs do, and corporate entrepreneurs do the same thing, is they turn the classic model on its head and actually start with customers and build backwards. I did this in a corporate sense by starting with customers and using a blank yellow pad and start creating solutions based on customers' needs as to where they're going. When I saw there were gaps in what we could deliver, I would bring in partners, and together with the customer, we would create new solutions that we never thought possible. Never worried about marketing at first, but started with a customer and built it backwards. And that's what entrepreneurs do. So thinking as an entrepreneur, there's causal thinking, strategic thinking, effectual thinking, and USC would take it even a step further. And so when I look out at the landscape in today's world, you know, we are faced with a lot of different issues, a lot of different challenges, and we need some superheroes. I really believe that you all are the superheroes in your communities, your churches, in your workplace. You're the ones that are going to make things happen. Start asking the obvious questions. It's right in front of you. Think of terms of new and different. Understand where the markets are going. Create new models. Create new products. Create new services. Stay in control of your opportunity. The customers are there. So good luck and good venturing. Okay,
Thank
JJ.
you very much, Steve. That was absolutely amazing. All right, hold on. Let me get, so there are a bunch of questions along the way. So let me try to weave some of them in here.
So understand, folks, that is 1/2 of one portion of one class period, and we go on for 15 weeks. That's the introduction.
And that was just a little tiny piece, right? So there's a lot more to come. So here's a question from Kevin Carr. He says, you know, are seed investors investing right now?
Had nothing to do with what, Kevin. I do not want to talk about investors. If that's okay. I guess, JJ, the answer is yes. But that's not what this is about. This is about, Kevin, staying in control of your business and moving it forward. Okay?
That's really specifically about the startup and entrepreneurial journey that we're talking about, and not the money at this point.
Yeah, I don't let my students talk about investing until we have that segment.
Yeah. Okay. Are you saying starting a business is like being in the middle of a snipers in the mines at Normandy?
It sure is. Everybody attacks you. Everybody wants to get you. Everybody, you know what? Maybe your mother will say, yes, you're fine. It's beautiful. It's great. The truth is, you're in hand-to-hand combat in a business sense with everybody. Nobody believes you. You have no credibility. The truth is, you've got to align yourself with the customers and deliver value. And that's how you can weave your way through the entrepreneurial landscape. If you want to read a great case study in this, read the founding of IKEA and what he did to start that business. It's an amazing story.
Very good. So there's a question about what number 9 is, really.
What was that? I forget already. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
10 was timing. 9 was ask the obvious question, right? The point is, people, I think, try and be too intellectual. They try and get too deep about trying to understand where the opportunities lie and, that lead to an idea, innovation. Ask simple questions. For those of us who have a sales background, it's as simple as asking customers some fundamental questions. What are you doing today? What is it missing? Where would you like to go? What have you tried in the past? believe it or not, it's asking simpler questions that allow you to have some insight as to where you may head.
Yep. So I think you talked about something that's really important, and I want to kind of come back to it. You talked about, I think you spent a lot of time on that too. You talked about, people have ideas. They come up with ideas every day. And
Right.
so what, you and I see this all the time. They say, I have an idea. It's a great idea. I just need to get, 0.1% and I'll be a billionaire. So how do you take that idea from an idea and really prove to be a real business at the end of the day? I mean, it's a loaded question, of course, and that's what you talked about. But the dilemma is always about how I have an idea, I need to get to an execution, and I need to turn it into a business. And that's usually the biggest issue, is they don't know how to turn an idea into a real business.
That's an absolute true statement. And I can tell you that we teach an entire course. In fact, USC was the first to teach the feasibility analysis. You work with me, and my clients know this, and my students know this. You're going to start with that hypothesis, and I'm going to require you to go out and speak to a minimum of 100 potential customers. I'm going to put you through market segmentation. Through market segmentation, I'm going to have you identify potential customers. Customers have names, they have addresses. I'm going to have you test distribution channels, value proposition, pricing, everything. And it is a process of understanding, will they buy from you? Is there a need? And so I don't want to hear what you think. I want to hear what you know.
Yeah.
And why.
So, and I always talk about this, and that is, so this is really research/marketing piece, or market research. And so that's really, at that stage, is more important than anything else anyone can do, because fail fast is really as good as, growing or understanding that there is an opportunity at this point. So do you agree that the research at that early stage is potentially more important than anything else they can do?
That's one of the first places I stop in my feasibility class, and that is not at the expense of everything else, but understanding industry changes, players. And in an MBA class for a couple of years, we focused on the changing markets from, looking at millennials and how they buy and where they buy. So it is a two-pronged approach that you should undertake, both from a primary and a secondary research. Secondary research is fine. It gives you a broad understanding of industries and markets, but nothing replaces primary research, where you get out there and you're face-to-face. We got to get past the COVID issue, face-to-face with people in your industry, trade associations, and customer markets. This is an ongoing analysis in your business. It never stops. But I am a big fan of being in alignment with potential customers and asking yourself, am I in a position to create, deliver, and capture value? Is this something I can accomplish? So the answer to your question, JJ, is absolutely yes. Constant research, because you may find yourself delivering value as a different industry player in another segment, and ask yourself, is that where I should be?
Okay. We're coming up at the end. I have last question for you. What are your thoughts about about these startups having the team, or at least the majority of the team, having expertise in their domain versus someone who's coming into a new domain? They may be a software developer that developed great software, but now they're developing it for a completely new industry that they don't understand. So is domain expertise, I guess my question, a key component of this?
I've done this topic a lot of times in class, and for a lot of businesses, The answer is absolutely yes. And when you bring up software, oftentimes in working with people, I will ask them, what industry are you in? They're still at the hypothetical stage and they're not sure. And I say, aren't you a software company? Oh, yeah, we are. Okay, so I take it that you can program. I remember Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates and others, they knew how to program. Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak. He knew what he was doing. If you don't understand, how to program software, and there are other businesses where it's critically important that you understand the industry, but there are ways of getting around some of them by bringing on partners that have expertise. And there's some where you can just learn it. So you need to understand how far you can take it, and can you in fact deliver customer value in the time frame that you have relative to funding your own money.
Yeah. All right. Steve, this has been awesome, but what I'm going to do some closing. I know you said a lot of things, but I want to leave our audience with just one advice as to be the first one. So let me do the closing so that I'm not throwing a curveball. Think about that one, and I'll come right back. All right. So thank you, everyone, for being part of this broadcast. And we have a lot of, a huge lineup with great people that are coming up in the next few weeks. And what I wanted to let you know is, we have Bruce Verga coming next week. He's going to talk about equity crowdfunding. We have Zandra from OC Angels, and we have Scott Fox, and then we have John Harbison, who's the Chairman Emeritus of TCA. So a great lineup coming up in the next few weeks. I wanted to also remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not. And also, please do not forget to follow us on social media so you can keep getting the updates. Steve, what is it?
Have you reached out to your customer today? Without a customer, we're not in business.
Aha, there you go. Okay, Steve, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for being part of this and for the advice and for this presentation. That was absolutely amazing. And I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure, JJ. Best of luck.
Talk soon.
Good luck in
Thanks very
adventure,
much.
everybody.
All right. Good luck, everybody. Yes.